Welcome back. Today we're covering the most shocking courtroom reactions ever recorded. Killers who collapse when hearing life sentences. Defendants who attack judges and deputies. Families who break down during victim statements. And convicts who show absolutely zero remorse. These are real cases, real reactions, real consequences. Over the next 40 minutes, you'll see justice delivered in ways that will stay with you forever. Let's dive in. Our first case involves Jaleel Smith Riley, who's facing murder charges in Michigan. On November 16, 2013, in Norwood, Michigan, Smith Riley and two accomplices approached a parked car. Inside that car were 20-year-old Portia Brooks and her boyfriend, Aaron Martin. Smith Riley knocked on the window with a handgun and forced Aaron out of the vehicle at gunpoint. He went through Aaron's pockets, taking every dollar he had. Then, without warning, Smith Riley shot Aaron in the head. The shot caused permanent brain damage, but Aaron survived. Smith Riley wasn't done. He leaned into the car and fired at Portia twice. She died 3 days later. Before sentencing, Portia's family addressed the court. Her mother, Sharon Brooks, brought a box containing her daughter's ashes, something she'd done for every court appearance. She told the court that Smith Riley had ruined her life and killed her identity as a mother of 3. "This is what I have left," she said, holding the box. "Because of his greed, his selfishness, his complete disregard and disrespect of others and life." Portia's sister, Tia Marie Brooks, spoke emotionally and requested the maximum sentence. Then Aaron, who Smith Riley shot in the head, addressed the court about Portia. "She's still here with us. She will always be here. She's our angel looking over us, helping us get through these hard times." During the trial on August 11, 2021, Smith Riley pleaded guilty to aggravated murder and attempted murder. But then he tried to withdraw his guilty plea against his attorney's advice. The judge denied his request. Smith Riley appeared in court crying and apologizing, a last attempt at showing remorse. His attorney made a final plea for mercy. But Judge Charles Kubicki denied the request and sentenced Smith Riley to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The 23-year-old collapsed to the courtroom floor when he heard his sentence. He also received an additional 11 years for the attempted murder charge. This monster is currently rotting behind bars, and that's exactly where he belongs. Our next case is one of the most infamous school shootings in American history. This is TJ Lane, facing multiple murder charges in Ohio. On February 27, 2012, Lane entered Chardon High School and headed straight for the cafeteria. Without warning, he opened fire. 3 students were killed, 3 others were severely injured. Teachers and students frantically called 911 as chaos erupted. One witness described seeing kids laying everywhere, blood all over, people screaming, everyone running in different directions. Another student saw Lane holding a gun pointed at a group of kids. "Do you remember the look on his face?" someone asked. "I never looked at his face, I just looked at the gun." Lane was quickly apprehended and charged with 3 counts of aggravated murder, 2 counts of attempted aggravated murder, and 1 count of felonious assault. But what makes this case truly disturbing is Lane's behavior during the trial. He showed absolutely no remorse. He appeared in court wearing a t-shirt with the word killer written on it. During the sentencing hearing, he gave the middle finger to the victims' families. Then Lane made a statement so shocking, so disgusting, that it sent waves of outrage across the entire nation. He said, "This hand that pulled the trigger that killed your sons now masturbates to the memory." The courtroom erupted, families screamed, some tried to rush toward him. Judge David Fury described Lane's behavior as heinous, unprovoked, and senseless. He sentenced Lane to 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. Lane didn't even react. He remained emotionless and showed no remorse whatsoever. His behavior was that of a complete psychopath. TJ Lane will die in prison, and nobody will shed a tear. This next case involves one of the most reckless crime sprees ever captured on live television. Ryan Stone went on a multi-state rampage that was broadcast by news helicopters the entire time. The chase began when Stone hijacked a car with a 4-year-old boy inside. He drove off, leading police on a dangerous pursuit that lasted over an hour. During the chase, Stone drove up to 100 miles per hour with complete disregard for anyone's safety. Watch as he overtakes an innocent civilian, throws them out of the car, and steals their vehicle. He exits the highway, opens the car door at full speed, slams on the brakes, and nearly crashes into another car at an intersection. This was an attempted carjacking that failed. Stone crashed into several vehicles during the chase, causing numerous injuries. At one point, he came within inches of killing a police officer who was laying spike strips on the highway. He eventually crashed and tried to flee on foot, but police quickly apprehended him. Now here's where it gets even more outrageous. Stone was caught on camera in his jail cell boasting to a friend about his crimes. "Did you know I made the news in the UK and Australia? My lawyer told me. If you type Grand Theft Auto on YouTube, my footage comes up first." Ryan actually believed he should be compensated because news channels were using his footage. Stone was charged with 26 crimes, including kidnapping, motor vehicle theft, assault, and eluding police. At his sentencing hearing, many victims spoke about the impact of his crimes on their lives. Some described physical injuries from the crashes, others talked about emotional trauma. Then Stone spoke. He cried, expressed remorse, and apologized to his victims. The irony is stunning. In the same week, Stone was caught on video laughing and boasting about his crimes, and then crying and begging for sympathy in court. The judge was unmoved. He noted that Stone had shown a pattern of criminal behavior and posed a serious threat to society. Stone was sentenced to 160 years in prison without the possibility of parole. He cried when he heard the sentence. Stone blamed drugs for his actions. Maybe his remorse is sincere, but he'll have 160 years to think about it. This case is one of the most heartbreaking examples of parental neglect and abuse you'll ever hear. Seth Welch and Tatiana Fusari are facing first-degree murder charges in Michigan. They were the parents of 10-month-old Mary Welch, who died of malnutrition and dehydration due to severe neglect. On August 2, 2018, in Kent County, Michigan, their baby girl died in her crib. Child Protective Services had been involved with this family since 2014, when THC was found in their first child system. Mary weighed only 8 pounds at the time of her death, far below what a healthy 10-month-old should weigh. Her parents refused to seek medical help, citing religious reasons and distrust of the medical system. When police investigated the home, they found it was filthy and unhygienic, with evidence of vermin, insects, and mold everywhere. The doctor who performed the autopsy confirmed that Mary was suffering from chronic malnutrition caused by withholding food and water. Seth's 911 call revealed their level of neglect. When asked if Mary was already deceased when he found her, he said yes. In court, prosecutors highlighted just how neglectful these parents were. "You didn't get her out of that crib, you left her in there. You ignored her because she was an inconvenience." The couple was charged with felony murder in August 2018. In June 2020, Seth Welch was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. In 2021, Fusari testified that her husband was abusive and that she wasn't allowed to take Mary to the doctor. "He got very angry with me. He smacked me across the face and told me he knows how I feel about doctors. He said Mary is fine, she's fine, now drop it." In November 2021, Fusari was also sentenced to life without parole for first-degree murder and an additional 15 to 30 years for first-degree child abuse. When the judge pronounced their life sentences, Seth's mouth dropped open in shock. Fusari started crying. For many people, this couple got exactly what they deserved. That baby deserved better. She deserved parents who would feed her, care for her, and love her. Instead, she got two people who let her starve to death in her crib. This case involves the murder of a detective inside a police station. Esteban Carpio is facing murder charges in Rhode Island for killing a detective during questioning in 2005. Providence Police Detective Sergeant James L. Allen and another detective were questioning Carpio about an assault on an 85-year-old woman named Madeline Gata. The The second detective left the interview room to get water and locked the door behind him. That's when things went horribly wrong. They heard Detective Allen say, "I think he's going to kill me. He's got my gun. He's going to kill me." By the time they broke down the door, the officer was dying. Carpio had jumped out the third-floor window. He was recaptured minutes later after struggling with police. When Carpio appeared in court, his face was red, bruised, and swollen. He was wearing a mask designed to keep him from spitting at or biting others. His family screamed and accused police of brutality. Carpio's aunt went on TV claiming it was police brutality, that he was mentally ill and didn't deserve what they did to him. But Providence Police Chief Dean Esserman argued that Carpio's injuries were sustained when he jumped from the third floor and resisted arrest. The FBI investigated and concluded that police did not use excessive force. No civil rights violation when injuries are incident to arrest. If he's fighting officers, they have the right to use whatever force necessary to subdue the subject. On June 27, 2006, a jury found Carpio guilty of murdering Detective Allen and stabbing Madeline Gatta. Despite his plea of insanity, Carpio was sentenced to life in prison without parole. At first, he showed little reaction and remained unmoved. But later, in an attempt to win over the jury, he apologized for his actions. "Every day I think about what I did and what happened." Carpio claimed he was suffering from mental illness at the time, but the court didn't buy it. He'll spend the rest of his life behind bars for killing a detective who was just doing his job. This case involves one of the most disturbing social media posts ever made before a deadly crime. Kayla Mendoza is facing double manslaughter charges in Florida. On the same night she killed 2 young women in a drunk driving crash, Mendoza tweeted, "Too drunk to care." On November 17, 2013, the 20-year-old woman, who wasn't even licensed to drive, got behind the wheel after drinking heavily. She had been at a local bar with her manager and colleagues, where she drank 2 fishbowl margaritas. Hours later, Mendoza was driving the wrong way on the Sawgrass Expressway at over 80 miles per hour. She collided head-on with another car, killing 2 beautiful young women, 21-year-old Marissa Catronio and 21-year-old Caitlin Ferrante. Mendoza was charged with 2 counts of DUI manslaughter, 2 counts of vehicular homicide, and 2 counts of driving without a license causing death. Her then-boyfriend, who owned the car involved in the crash, explained that the "Too drunk to care" tweet was directed at him. "The tweet was for my boyfriend because he was upset I was out with them drinking. He wanted me home." The families of Ferrante and Catronio filed lawsuits against Mendoza, her boyfriend, the T-Mobile store where she worked, and the bar that served her. On May 4, 2015, 2 months after pleading guilty, Mendoza was sentenced to 24 years in prison. She was apologetic throughout the trial, and her crying intensified when she heard her sentence. "No matter how much time passes, I'm gonna live with that in my heart every day." After her sentence, Mendoza will also serve 6 years of probation and is permanently banned from driving. Her apologies and remorse suggest she may have learned her lesson. But 2 families will never get their daughters back because of her selfish decision to drive drunk. This case involves a convicted killer who showed absolutely zero remorse for his actions. Adrian Dunn, an ex-convict, was sentenced for the murder of Rakim Tariq Charles. Police said Dunn shot Charles in the back during a drug deal in a parking lot on July 16, 2012. And this wasn't even Dunn's first crime. He'd been to prison twice for possessing a firearm. A month before this murder, he committed another shooting. He showed zero remorse throughout the entire trial. Prosecutors urged the jury to impose the maximum sentence, noting Dunn's extensive criminal history. Prosecutor Jason Goss held the hand of the victim's parents before arguing that a life sentence was necessary to prevent another family from suffering. "Her son who has to suffer and this family who has to suffer because of the defendant. That's why we're asking you for a life sentence." Throughout the trial, Dunn showed no remorse and couldn't have been less concerned. His attorney argued that 35 to 40 years would be more appropriate, giving Dunn a chance to make something of himself in prison. But the jury deliberated for just 2 hours before returning with a sentence of life in prison. As the decision was read, Dunn began fighting with deputies attempting to escort him from the courtroom. His behavior was marked by profanity and outbursts. He was eventually subdued and removed from the court. Adrian Dunn is currently rotting behind bars where he belongs. Our final case involves one of the most horrific child abuse murders you'll ever hear about. Ellis Nelson Ortiz Neves is facing murder charges for the death of 4-year-old Giovanni Mejias in Michigan. Giovanni was the son of Ortiz Neves' girlfriend, Sonia Hernandez. Sonia claimed she had no involvement, but neighbors said otherwise. Sonia was well aware. She told him it was his responsibility to whoop them. Ortiz Neves denied abusing the boy, but prosecutors proved his beatings resulted in Giovanni's death. When deputies arrived at the trailer, they found Giovanni on the kitchen floor. An autopsy showed Giovanni died from internal bleeding caused by an abdominal tear, an injury that could only be caused by an adult. During the trial, the judge condemned Ortiz Neves in very strong words. "You are the lowest form of human life that I've been able to observe. You committed this murder and you beat this little boy to death." The judge described the injuries, causing Ortiz Neves to become upset and struggle with deputies. "You put cigarettes out on this poor little child." Ortiz Neves was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole and an additional 80 to 150 years for first-degree child abuse. Another monster behind bars where he can never hurt another child again. These cases show us the darkest side of humanity. Killers, abusers, drunk drivers, school shooters. But they also show us that justice, while sometimes slow, does arrive. Every one of these defendants faced consequences for their actions. Some showed remorse, others showed nothing. But all of them will spend decades, or their entire lives, behind bars. If this video impacted you, like and subscribe for more true crime cases. Drop a comment with your thoughts on these sentences. Thanks for watching.